Hello, Money Queens and listeners. Welcome to Women Behind the Millions. Let's meet the women behind the millionaires, the women supporting, guiding, celebrating women with their wealth. You will hear from women millionaires, how they got there, what they wish they had known, what got them to be a millionaire, the emotional side, the spiritual side, the practical side of wealth. You'll also get to meet the women behind the scenes helping make it happen. Let's dive into Women Behind the Millions. I am Jessica Weaver, your host, best-selling author of 3 books, wealth advisor, and founder of the Women's Wealth Boutique. Let's start meeting the women. Hello, Money Queens. Hello, viewers. Welcome to Women Behind the Millions. I am Jessica Weaver, your host, and we are in our Financial Trendsetters series. I love this project so much. It is near and dear to my heart. It is all about getting more women into the industry, keeping them here, and getting more relatable financial education out there to women, because we want more women investing money, growing their wealth, protecting their wealth, and especially leaving a legacy. And that's what tonight is about. It is about fulfillment, a journey worth navigating. What is that legacy? We have with us one of our authors of Financial Trendsetters 2.0. And in her chapter, she quotes the great Oprah Winfrey: "True wealth is not measured in money or status or power. It is measured in the legacy that we leave behind." So let's learn a little bit more about our guest tonight. We have with us Andrea Beegle. She is a CFP, wealth advisor, and future CEO of Compass Wealth Strategies, a family firm with the legacy of working with clients across generations to navigate their financial future together. Before stepping into wealth management, Andrea spent 15 years advancing the world's most pressing problems while working at National Geographic, the United Nations Foundation, the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition, and ultimately supporting the launch of a global advocacy organization focused on improving nutrition for moms and babies. She's driven by making a positive impact in people's lives and the world. Let's bring to stage Andrea Beegle. Hello, Ange. How are you tonight?
Wow, it's so great to see you, Jessica. I'm fabulous. Thank you.
Amazing to see you. You have lived so many lifetimes, my goodness, in your career alone.
So funny.
Well, in your chapter, you start with the very eye-opening, reflective story of being on an international flight, newly engaged, right? You're probably sitting there looking at your engagement ring, sparkling champagne being offered, and you witness something on that plane. What was going on the plane that made you just stop in your tracks?
Yes. I saw a man. I saw not that sounds so funny because you were just talking about engagements and sparkling rings, right? But I saw I was in business class, upgraded. I was working for the United Nations Foundation, and a lot of my time was spent on planes. A lot. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It was the perfect and dream opportunity at that stage and age of my life. And I just remember, I don't remember where I was going. I don't know if it was Senegal or, South Korea or where, but I remember being sitting there in business class, looking over across the aisle and seeing a gentleman clearly traveling for business as well, dressed in his business suit. And it was just this intimate moment that I caught of him looking. He also was wearing his wedding ring, but he was holding a photo of his family, his wife and his kids. And I just saw a tear fall down his face. And I don't know his story. He was across the aisle. I didn't get to speak with him. But in my mind, I interpret it as it just hit my heart. And I just thought he's worked his whole life, his whole career to get to this point of being able to, lead an international business or, whatever his career was. But now that he's here, the only place in the world he really wants to be is at home with his kids and thinking about that. So my mind just swirled of, maybe he's missing his kid's birthday. Maybe he's missing a soccer game. And it just made me reflect, for me, in my next chapter at that time, I was like, that's not, I don't think that's what I want, right? Like it took me to start thinking about maybe I need to start calibrating my own personal compass to something different, to something that my heart is telling me to go towards.
Yeah. So how long were you in the nonprofit world for before then joining your father's firm, which you will one day take over?
hmm So I had, oh gosh, the whole journey. The
What
whole
happened? What just what?
Well, let me just start of like I was growing up. In some ways I was born into this business, right? Like my father became a financial advisor the year that I was born, so he's been in this business for 42 years. And so I grew up around it, always interested in it, always, kind of engaged and involved in money conversations. But I was also that kid that I never knew what I wanted to be. My mom was a stay-at-home mom as well. And to me, I think that's what spoke to my heart, or at least that's what I saw, the example of like, okay, maybe I knew I wanted to be a mom. Um, I went to college. I played lacrosse, and that brought me to UC Berkeley, and where I played lacrosse. And I think that really opened my eyes to a whole new world.
Sure.
That was my first time away from home as well. And I remember being in college and thinking, okay, do I want to go business and finance, or do I want to go a different direction? And I picked communications because it was so broad. I could do everything. I could do business. I could do sociology. I could kind of combine everything. And so that really interested me, and I went that route. But then after, you're getting the long version. I hope you don't mind.
Oh, no, that I find this always fascinating. Like it always feels like people fall into finance. It's very little is it that intentional. So it's always a great story that leads into it.
Yeah. So, okay. So with that, I never really knew. I never had a clear path or vision for what I wanted or where it was going to go. But I did communications after we graduated college. A friend and I decided, let's go backpacking. Like most of our friends were going backpacking across Europe. We were like, let's go to South America. So we went to the Galapagos. We hiked Machu Picchu in Peru. And I loved it. Loved every moment. It opened my eyes to just so much more of the world. It opened my eyes to a lot of disparities, and also thinking the role of tourism, of, how it can. In college, I was also a travel agent. At the same time as interning with my dad in finances, right? So I kind of always had all these interests. But so much of that trip just kind of opened my eyes to the power of tourism at that moment, and how it also brings together the world and communities, can support economies, but then can also damage environments as well. So anyway, I was having a conversation and just kind of thinking through all this, because my friend Lauren and I, we didn't know what we were going to do after this backpacking trip. So anyway, I was there in the Amazon, and a woman overheard me, and she's like, honey, what you are talking about is called sustainable tourism. When you get back home, like, search it and go do it. And that's what I did at that moment, right? I came back home, started Googling it, started setting up informational interviews with anyone that would talk to me. And that kind of brought me to how I got my at my first job, which was at National Geographic. And I completely lucked out, because I had sent an informational interview, just cold call email to, info at National Geographic. That got forwarded to the director of sustainable tourism. And he's like, this looks interesting. Send me a non-academic writing sample. I didn't have one. I just graduated from college. So I stayed up all night wanting to impress him, wrote it, sent it. Next morning, my dad, looked at it. He was like, what is this? He was like, okay, not only did you're applying to National Geographic and you mixed up your East and your West, you like misquoted Robert Frost, like all these mistakes. And so I just wrote back. I was like, oops, I'm so sorry. I actually sent you a raw copy. Here's my final copy. Right. Never, wasn't expecting to, and never heard back. But I was on this journey of like wanting to get into this industry. So I kept doing informational interviews. I had one in DC, found my found myself coming out of that informational interview trying to find the metro, lost, couldn't find my way to the metro, found myself in front of the National Geographic building and decided I, at this point, have nothing to lose.
Sure.
I'm just going to go up to the building and ask for this gentleman that I had sent my, mistake to. And to my, I wasn't expecting it, but they called him right on the phone and they said, "Hey, Andrea is here. She'd like to talk to you." And he's like, "I'm under a deadline. Can't talk now. Come back at 9 a.m. the next morning." I was like, okay. So I did. And when I walked in, he had my rough draft standing on his desk, all marked up in red. And I was like, "Oh, here, sir, this is my final copy." And he's like, "No, I found this one more interesting." And he's like, "But you're hired because you showed so much. It's not about the editing. It's not about the work, right? It is about the passion and your commitment to wanting to get into, whatever industry and in this." So that's how I got my first job, which then led to working at the United Nations Foundation in different areas, surrounding myself with great people that then led to others, to other opportunities. And, at the heart of it also was I was really motivated by impact, and really, paving a way for brighter futures. And when I think about that too, there's a saying, and I did a lot around global health and public health. And there's a saying that we had of, the health of a country can be measured by the wealth of its women. And that I think then, that coupled with, me having the example of my father and the industry and just being around the world and seeing, how women, the various opportunities or lack of opportunities that women have and the role that money plays in that, that's then what brought me to where I am now and thinking. And in this chapter of life also, as when I have a family, when I have young kids, when I have the opportunity to work with my father, this window of opportunity is like, this is the time, this is the place, this is the way I want to impact lives and futures.
Amazing, Andrea. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to give a little glimpse of what Financial Trendsetters is all about. And then we're going to dive into the work that Andrea is doing right now as a CFP, a female financial advisor. Let's take a look. What happens when 13 powerhouse women in finance share their stories? You get Financial Trendsetters 2, a bold, inspiring collection from women who are reshaping the financial industry from the inside out. These aren't just advisors, they're creators, connectors, trailblazers. Each chapter reveals the real stories behind their rise, how they're building wealth, redefining leadership, and creating a lasting, iconic legacy. Sharing their real stories of growth, grit, and owning their brilliance. Proceeds from sales of Financial Trendsetters 2 go to support a scholarship for young women entering finance. Available now on Amazon. So go grab the book. It's available now. It is a bestseller. We are here with Andrea Beegle, one of the best-selling authors of the book. Andrea, is there a difference between money in nonprofit and money in financial services? How people view it, how people talk about it?
Yes, no, absolutely. I mean, just think about that, right? Like nonprofit, that I wish it was reframed instead of nonprofit, like pro impact, right?
Oh, that's such a name for it.
More appropriately describes what it stands for, like the mission, right? In the nonprofit space. But anyway, with that framing nonprofit, it does show that like the whole point, it's not necessarily to make the profit, it is to fulfill a mission. And money then becomes the tool to fulfill the mission. And I think that's really important. And that kind of framing and mindset has really impacted me, and then that's how we support our clients as well. Is it's not about the dollar amount necessarily, right? It's about the meaning behind what that dollar represents. It's the meaning behind the portfolio, the purpose behind the portfolio, and putting the plan in place. So it's so much more encompassing than just money, and things about Yeah, just thinking about money, thinking about it, like true wealth. True wealth encompasses more than just your, looking at your assets minus your liabilities, right? True wealth involves everything that's meaningful to you. People are worth more than what their net worth is. So it's the relationships, it's the community, it's the passion, it's the purpose. It's anything that's meaningful to you in your life and your legacy. And so I like to think about that. I like to think about it as, just in the nonprofit world of money was a tool to support the mission. I think about this as fulfillment, the idea that money backs what is truly meaningful and fulfilling in your life and your legacy. And so approaching it in terms of fulfillment looks at it as like, yes, money is important, but what is also that greater meaning behind it? Like, how is money backing the life and legacy that you want to lead?
That's amazing. I love that perspective too, because so many times women feel guilty about wanting more money, greedy, right? There's these negative connotations around money. But when you look at it, more money, more impact, right? More money, more power in a positive sense because of the change that you can orchestrate with this wealth as well. And I can see how your previous careers has just come with you into working with people with their individual wealth and families and households, even just from the risks and being a go-getter from that first job story that you shared earlier, the risk that you had to take, the integrity, the gumption that you just led with your gut and like, this is what I want to do and your passion. To then all that you learned from bringing people together for an overall mission. How do you get your clients to think bigger than just the dollars in their bank account? What are some of the conversations you're having with them, or maybe reflective questions you lead with, would you say?
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think that's what is important and what's so special about our role as advisors is that, everyone has a different connotation or thinking about like what a financial advisor, the role that they do, what the work that they do. But I think one of the most privileged spaces that we play is being able to hear people's hopes, dreams, concerns, and desires as well. So it's not just the money, but it's more than that. And at Compass Wealth Strategies, I like to think about this as we are wealth navigators, helping to support families and oftentimes families across multiple generations to be thinking about like, how do you navigate wealth? And this is a journey. Wealth is a journey. So I like to take the framework of navigation, right? And there are some critical tools to navigation. The first that I like to talk about is your life map. Right. So this is everyone's journey is unique and different, right? We all have different interests. We all have different passions and different missions. And there's no one destination that we're all trying to reach, right? It's all a journey. And so when we think about our life, what is that big picture vision? What is that map of your life? And then if you think about a map, right, you're like hiking and you see that like you are here sticker. So if you are here, think about like, what is that next step in your trail and in your path that you want to be in? I like to think of my daughter, huge Swiftie fan, loves Taylor Swift, right? So I like to think about this in terms of eras. Oh, you too, Jessica?
The same. Yes. Continue.
So for me, like I'm in my parenting era right now, right? And so then I think about, okay, in this stage of life, what's important to me? Like who's around me? For me, obviously, it's my husband, my kids, my parents, and I think about also the ages of everyone, myself and my kids. I think about, it's a short 18 years of, being a mom when they're at home under one roof. And so what do I want that to look like? At the same time, I think about my parents and them aging as well, and the opportunity that we're all together, 3 generations. What are those experiences? How are we feeling the era in that life chapter? At the same time, how are we then planting seeds for what is the next era to come after that, right?
Oh, love that.
So it's appreciating and taking time to live in that era, but continuing to plant seeds for the future. So that's kind of thinking about that life map of like what's important. And I should say kind of the compass that I think of with this life map is also your values. So what's important to you? Like for me, I just talked about family, right? Like that's a big value. To me, having impact. And so how does that then play out and what does that look like in this life period? So helping clients think about their life map, like what is their vision? What is their mission for their overall life look like? And then the next is your GPS, your financial GPS. So if you have a map, the next thing is how are you navigating? How are you getting from point A to point B? And that's where the financial GPS comes from. And I like to think of GPS in terms of your goals, your plan, and the strategies to get there, right? So those goals, what were those milestones on my map? There are certain, vacations that I wanted to have. There are certain experiences. Actually, having a career change was on that life map of knowing that I needed, if I wanted to be more present and at home in this era, what did I need to do? And having a rewarding career change was one of those things. And so then that financial GPS, thinking about mapping, taking those milestones and those goals, and putting everything together to then create, what's the overall financial plan? So, mapping all assets, all finances to the plan, and then coming up with those individual strategies to meet the goals. So life map, financial GPS, and then if anything is worth wholeheartedly going after, it is also worth protecting as well. So then also thinking about that safety kit, right? So what is that financial safety kit? And again, looking at that in terms of, everything from your emergency fund, which would be like your first aid kit, right? If bumps and bruises in the road, what's needed? That's where you then open up that emergency fund, emergency kit within there, to then having more layered approaches like estate planning, insurance. Thinking about like how do you protect your loved ones and your goals and the legacy that you have been building along the way?
You make a great point because a lot of times when they're trying to do it themselves or they're going with an advisor who just does, let's say, the investments, it's very one-dimensional and you bring up layers and I call them dimensions, right? You really want a plan that has layers to it or dimensions. It's more than just a flat
or static, right? It can't be static. It changes as soon as
move and evolve with you. And you have this great quote, may your memories pay dividends. I love that. May your memories pay dividends. Like that's a big, kind of moment of as you talk about the C's, like how do we have more memories like this? How do we think about these memories more and bring them up? And it brings people together. It transpires values from one generation to the next. It just keeps transferring them as well. We're going to take a quick break to do a shout out to the PinkFix merch store. If you go over to YouTube, or if you're watching us on YouTube right now, post a comment or question for Andrea and you get entered to win a merch gift from our store. So let's take a look. Welcome to the PinkFix shop, where rebels, trailblazers, and legacy builders find their voice in every sip, stitch, and page. From best-selling tees to manifesting mugs, every item is designed to spark conversation and celebrate your story. Start building your legacy in style, only at pinkfixproductions.com. All right, post a question or comment for Andrea. You get entered to win something from our store. Cannot wait. Well, the time has flown by, Andrea, and we have one more question for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What makes you a woman behind the millions?
Oh, so sweet. So sweet. All right. What makes me a woman behind the millions? I'm going to go back to impact and legacy and thinking about that and thinking about how to support women and having a fulfilling journey, and not just women, but families. Seeing that your daughter.
Yes, it is.
Yes. It makes me think about too the importance of conversations. And I think about cross multi-generational conversations, and the way, I think a lot about, I was fortunate to grow up in a house where my father was a financial advisor. So money conversations was something that it was just the norm. We just had it, right?
Good. Yes.
I come from a public health background, and I just see this is a public health crisis, right? Like generations are not taught personal finance. We're not taught. It's actually a lot of times people feel it's taboo to talk about money, to talk about wealth, right? And because of this, we're seeing that so many different communities and families are not having the same economic opportunities within there. There's a lot of also trauma that's passed down from generations to generations around this topic. And so I think about what can we do just to be able to help facilitate and hold conversations, and how can we help to lead a generation into being comfortable and responsible, and to live a life of fulfillment when it comes to money. I'm laughing because I'm wearing these. I don't know if people can, if you're watching this on video, you can see my beautiful hair beads.
I love your beads. Way to really comment on them.
But just last night, right? One of the things that we're doing in our family is we're trying to talk to our kids and have them think about what do they enjoy doing, and how can they share that with others while also learning about the responsibility of money, right? So just yesterday, my daughter loves tinsel and hair beads, right? So she set up her first hair bead and tinsel stands while my son was doing his lemonade stand, right? So they were we couldn't start our family business with them because there was too many differences in opinion, right? So they each had their own. But it just made me think too of, right, the more that we can share money opportunities, money responsibility, talking about money, normalizing it, talking about making money, growing money, investing money. How do you do that in ways that you enjoy? How are you appreciating and supporting those that are contributing to your success and supporting you? Like, how can we continue to have these conversations as a family, as a society, and as a world? Because I think the more that we can do that, the more we are going to raise up the health of women, the health of families. And women are just such a cornerstone to the future of families and to the future of then societies, communities, and countries in the world, right? Like so much. And so much of my work before in global health and public health, like women were the cornerstone. That was the access point for change. And I see that so much too in the wealth industry, and with working with so many women behind the millions, is the role that women play as their own wealth navigators in their lives and in their families and in their communities. And I just want to raise that up and celebrate that, and give like a huge shout out to women trailblazers.
Women are the cornerstone for change. We're going to leave it at that, Andrea. Thank you so much for being here with us on Women Behind the Millions, and for being part of our Financial Trendsetters sisterhood mission as well, in the work that you do. Thank you. And thank you all to our viewers, listeners, watchers. Thank you, Money Queens, for being with us. We will see you on our next Women Behind the Millions. Hey, Money Queens, looking to get your wealth to that next level, 7, 8, 9 figures? Follow us on Instagram at PinkFixMyMoney and at Women's Wealth Boutique for more millionaire money tips.